Welcome to my channel. My name is Bola Ologundudu. I've been in IT for over 15 years. In those years, I've been a database administrator, a data engineer, cloud architect, and certified enterprise architect. In this tutorial, I want to walk you through how to manage database environment, especially Microsoft SQL database. Over the year that I've been in IT, I've experienced in many areas of IT. So those experiences that I had in the past make it easy for me to manage the environment. In today's world, database is playing a vital role in managing and organizing information. There is no application out there today that doesn't rely on database, because database is like a storage. That is where all the data are being saved, managed, secure, and the access are being authorized by the authorized user, which is the user of a company or anybody that needs to be that need access to the database. So we have different type of databases out there. One of them is relational database. An example of relational database is a Microsoft SQL and an Oracle SQL database. They are relational because they have a table, you have a row, you have a column, and each record are being represented in a specific field. So relational database is one of the most widely used database out there. There's no company today that has a database that is not running or using a relational database. And relational database only understand one language, which is called the structural query language, the T-SQL. And depends on the database. If it's Oracle, Oracle understand P-SQL. If it's Microsoft SQL Server, that understand T-SQL, that means transactional structural query language. So this kind of database provide a high level of data integrity, and they support complex relationship between tables, and they are suitable for the application with a structured data. That means if you're used to Excel, the data in Excel are well structured. You have a field, you have a row, you have a column, and that kind of environment, that kind of information is what you can represent using a relational database like Microsoft SQL Server. Now, there's another type of database out there. They are called NoSQL. So this type of database, they are all different from the relational database because they are not structured, they are semi-structured. This kind of database, you can represent them by key and value. Out there today, there are a lot of databases that are JSON-like that you can use. They call them document database at times because you can use it to store different kind of data, whether the data is structured or unstructured. A sample of that kind of database is MongoDB and CouchDB. And we have another database that are columnar in nature, like Cassandra and HBase. Those databases are used for managing a large data, like all those big data bars that you're hearing out there. So those are being managed and stored in a columnar database. And there's another one out there that we call a graph database. So the graph database like Neo4j, they are focusing on managing entities. So all these databases together, they are referred to as the NoSQL because they are unstructured and they can change from time to time, and there's a need for us to be able to store that. And that is the reason why NoSQL database come to life, and that is what the NoSQL database is all about. So the next one are called the object-oriented database. These are designed to store and manage objects, which encapsulate both data and behavior. and they are based on the object-oriented programming paradigm, where objects are instances of classes and a has attribute method. Then we have time series databases. So the time series databases, they are optimized for handling timestamp or time series data. For example, if you have a data um, like those data that are time sensitive, like the data that are being used in a stock exchange. When you're looking at the stock in the morning, you see all those data flashes on the wall. Those data are being saved on a database that are time series database, because each one of those data, they are being saved based on the time, and the timestamp is being used primarily being like a kind of a primary key to extract the data, and they are easy, make it easy to analyze financial data and sensors like the IoT. If you have an IoT sensor, that kind of data from IoT, they are being saved in a time series database, because IoT send data over time, over a specific period of time, and they send it maybe every hours or every seconds or every minute. So each one of those data need to be saved in a kind of database that can support easy data analysis. And this kind of database, we have InfluxDB, uh, InfluxDB, and Prometheus DB. They are one example of a time series database. There are a lot of them out there, and they provide a high write and a query performance and data compression, and make it easy for anybody to analyze the data. So you can see there are a lot of databases out there. There's another one we call a spatial database. This is mainly used for uh, saving data like a longitude and altitude. And if you call Uber today, and you can look at the map on your phone, and you'll be able to track the driver, where the driver is, when the driver is coming from. That kind of data is being saved in a special database, because make it easy to pinpoint the location of the data, and make it easy to have like databases uh, designed to store queries, special and geographical data like longitude and latitude, and enable efficient storage and indexing. And one example of that is a PostgreSQL, and then an extension, and a MongoDB tool also support special database. But in this tutorial, we're going to focus on object-oriented database. One of them is Microsoft SQL Server. We're going to learn how to set up and manage Microsoft SQL Server environment, how to maintain the database, and how to enable and make sure we set up a reliable disaster recovery. And also, we're going to make sure that our database is highly available by setting up the high availability environment. As you know, today, there's a lot of requirement out there to make sure that the database is always on 24/7, and that is where the high availability is very important for us to be able to set up. So I'm going to walk us through how to set up the environment, and as part of the setup, we're going to work on setting up the Active Directory, which most companies that will have been set up, but I want us to know how this was set up before we join a company. Or if you're lucky enough to be the one to set it up, you will know how to do it. Then after that, we're going to add a SQL Server to the domain. We're going to make sure those join to the domain. Then we're going to install SQL Server. And in this case, we're going to install the Microsoft SQL Server 2022 Developer Edition, because that has the same functionality as Enterprise Edition. So that is the database we're going to use. Then after that, we're going to create a failover cluster. So this, in order for us to be able to make our database highly available, we can cluster 2 or 3 or more servers together to make sure that when one server is down, the other 2 server or other 3 server are available to a response to customer. So we're going to set up one server. We're going to set up 3 VM. One of them is going to be the Active Directory. Then we're going to have other two. That will be SQL Test 01 and SQL Test 02. Instead of these two servers, we're going to install Windows Server 2022, SQL Server 2022 Developer Edition, and we're going to enable the failover cluster then while joining the server to domain. So we're going to walk you through the installation of Active Directory, and we're going to start the demo from there. And I really appreciate it if you stay and make sure you watch this video from beginning to the end. It's going to be a lengthy video, but I decided to divide it in a module that make it easy for you to understand. Thank you, and see you in the next lesson.